Good. Well, we'll call this work study to order. Village of Corrales governing body with a group of farmers here in the village of Corrales that are putting together the Corrales Farmers Cooperative. Councilor Meara.
Here.
Councilor Woolman.
Here.
Councilor Knight.
Here.
Councilor Alsterbrook.
Here.
Councilor Burkett.
Here.
And Councilor Murray.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, we've got everybody here. Has everybody had a chance to look? Well, in fact, we didn't do this agenda. This is courtesy of Sam Thompson, and I will, at this point, just call on Sam Thompson to start it off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate.
Okay, now whoever speaks, you need to be up there on the podium with the microphone, please, so we can get it on tape and have it on
I'm happy
YouTube.
to speak. Okay.
You didn't know you were going to be a YouTube star, did you?
Yeah, I didn't know. Okay. Is this good?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much, councilors, mayor, and administrator and Melanie for allowing us to come before you today. My name is Sam Thompson. We're going to start by having the board of the Corrales Farmers Cooperative introduce themselves to you. I've been a resident of Corrales for 29 years. I am a former research scientist and retired from 10 years in the Attorney General's office. I am a master gardener, a lifetime master gardener. I am not a farmer. I've been an irrigator, but I'm involved in this group because these guys behind me wanted me to be president of it while we get this thing started. And I was happy to do it because I believe in it, but I'd like each of you to come up now and introduce yourselves to the group. Mike.
Good evening, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Village Manager. My name is Mike Hammond. I'm the recently retired New Mexico State engineer. I also served for 7 years as the CEO for the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District. I also live in Corrales. I have a small farm on the north end and have been, working with the farmers market and various other activities to try to advance agriculture and keep it moving forward in my small way with my small farm up on the north end. I became interested in this effort in order to further organize our community around efforts to collaborate with the village and also look at for other opportunities out there with state, federal, local grants and NGO opportunities too. So happy to be part of the cooperative.
Hello, I'm Russell Trujillo, live on the north end of Corrales, 7596 Corrales Road. And I've been a farmer here since the last century. I've lived here since then. And I'm on the board of the Farmers Co-op here. I think our number one priority first is try to get some seasonable water. And another thing is there's John Young, another member of the Corrales Growers Market, and myself. We're kind of the liaisons between the Corrales Farmers Co-op and the Corrales Growers Market.
Mayor and councilors, my name is Jim Kruger. I'm a retired banker and a volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Well, we know Jim. He's with Corrales Main Street also.
I'm Damon Eli. I'm an attorney. Definitely not here as a farmer. Anybody that's seen me grow knows I'm not. But I want to see what we can do to help the farmers out. It isn't a climate change problem, it's a distribution problem. And so to the extent we can get people organized and get some power in this organization and get people's attention, I think we're doing something, and it's nice to see all of you. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That's okay. Hello, Anthony Wagner. I represent Wagner Farms.
As you can tell, we have some people of very few words. Okay, well, I'm sure all of you understand why we started this in the first place. We've had some major problems for over a year with the delivery of water. And that problem is not going to be resolved anytime soon. And so we decided we just had to do something to try to get more help, more focus on the problem, and maybe some money brought in to our farmers, maybe some projects brought in that can help them. So we formed this cooperative, which is recognized by the state now, and we are applying for a 501c3 through the IRS. That's Jim, another man of few words, is really helping us to put that kind of documentation together. When you look at farming in Corrales, we all know from the comprehensive plan, from every time we talk to people, farming is important. And we want to see it sustained, but it really is in jeopardy. And as we know, we're looking around the village, anytime you see an extra acre that doesn't have something on it, you can bet somebody's going to be putting a mega mansion on it if they get a chance. Well, we don't want that happening to our farmland. I don't think any of us do. So we need to keep our farmers farming through to 27, when they may be getting water back in a reliable manner. The cooperative itself has formed with specific objectives that we hope to achieve. One of them is advocacy. As Damon mentioned, we came together to do a letter writing campaign at Damon's urging to try to get some movement with MRGCD and the BIA. And we really got the attention of our federal delegation with that. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting tomorrow with Senator Ben Ray Lujan's field rep about possible grant opportunities. So they are listening to us. They'll answer our calls. That's what we wanted. We wanted to advocate for the farmers with a voice. We also want to try to educate the public as well as officials, elected officials, about the problems that we have here. Corrales is viewed as a very wealthy community, but that really isn't the full picture of Corrales. And so it's going to fall to this co-op to try to correct some of that picture that's held by a lot of our institutions that may have money that we could apply for. We also want to create an information sharing network, and that we have been doing by collecting the contact information for the first time with a lot of these farmers. We have been very fortunate. Anthony hosted a meeting that kicked this off, and we started collecting contact information, and we're up to about 68 people on the list, though most of you are on the list as well. And I want to keep you in the loop about what we're talking about and what we're finding. And the idea is to hold information sessions for the farmers about grant opportunities that are available to them and about any other updates they really need to have. We also are looking to solicit funding. We will be going to the state, to private sources, to federal sources, looking for funding that can be used for projects that can benefit our farmers, and also for funds that could benefit individual farmers. So we are trying, I kind of call it the spaghetti approach. We're just trying to try everything out there that we can, in the hopes that we can get some things in that are going to help sustain and perpetuate farming here in Corrales. And I'd like Mike to talk about, Mike is taking on a particular piece of this. A lot of the impetus for starting this organization was Representative Kathleen Cates, who saw the possibility of getting grant money to us if we could form a nonprofit. She also indicated to us that money could come in if we could form an Osaki Association. And so that is something that Mike is working on. I'd like him to tell you about it.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we do have an opportunity to further organize ourselves as farmers around the idea of forming I'm going to call it an informal Osaki Association, and I'll explain that in a minute. One of the things that when I was the CEO of the MRGCD, there was a lot of former Osaki communities that started forming themselves in the South Valley. There's another one across the river in the North Valley, to consolidate their interests together and see if they can't encourage the district in particular at the time to review them as a separate entity, as, its historic and its traditional values that they had before before the MRGCD was formed. There was a number of acequias in the Middle Rio Grande area. But because of the fact that when the district formed, they had to give away their, essentially their organizational strength as an entity under the state guidelines for acequias, they essentially signed that away and put it under the umbrella of the MRGCD. So there was a love-hate relationship for a number of years between the district and the acequias in the South Valley in particular. And I took it upon myself at the time to re-engage, try to culture a better relationship between the district and their individual elected board members, as well as to try to figure out a way that the district could help the acequias become more functional. And through that process, the district agreed to serve as the official fiscal agent to take full advantage of state Interstate Stream Commission acequia grant funding in order for the small ditches to make improvements, get more efficient and be able to manage water more efficiently. And that's good for the entire district. And we want to try to do something very similar here in Corrales, try to organize our farmers together, put together a formal acequia commission. I'll work with the New Mexico Acequia Association. I've already reached out to the head of that, Ms. Paula Garcia. She's willing to help us get our structure in place and form ourselves. But I use the word informal because technically, when you're under the MRGCD, the state of New Mexico doesn't recognize the acequias, the formed acequias, no matter how well you're organized and whether you have bylaws and all that stuff, which you need, but they still don't recognize you as an individual state entity. You still have to work under some umbrella of a fiscal agent, which, in theory could be the village in the future, or, the MRGCD has agreed to work with us on those issues as well. So we'll be moving forward with that. Just wanted to inform you of what we're thinking of in that regard. And we'll keep you posted as we get that organized. Thank you.
Stuart.
Mr. Hammond, let
You
me ask
guys
you this.
mind if we ask questions along the way? Oh, no, Mike, Stuart, go ahead.
Mr. Hammond, I just wanted to ask you this. So obviously the Interstate Stream Commission is coming out with new set of rules, probably within the next few years. How do you think you can impact them to get more favorable status for you guys and water? How are we going to work on that?
Well, forming ourselves both with the cooperative and with the Acequia Association will be very helpful. And the MRGCD is fostering a very tight and productive relationship with the leadership of the Interstate Stream Commission. There's a lot of work going on, try to increase overall efficiency throughout the entire system, which includes trying to deliver water down to Elephant Butte more efficiently. That way we can dig ourselves out of compact debt, address the Alvado problem, and also our siphon problem. So we certainly have state attention on the matter. And when I, serving as the, state engineer, I worked closely with the Interstate Stream Commission. I was the secretary of the commission, and we were focused on the need to really get strong, not only while we support strong agricultural communities, we also need to improve our efficiency, given the fact that over time, snowmelt runoff is going to diminish just as a consequence of increasing average temperatures in our environment. And so we've got to figure out a way to really continue to make our compact deliveries so that we can manage our system in the Middle Rio Grande more efficiently. So that'll take all of us. And that means our farmers in Corrales need to get more efficient. We need to look at the combination of groundwater and surface water in an integrated way to get us through those tough times in August and September when the river is dropped. And that naturally happens anyways, but it's going to be worse as time goes on. So we want to have a comprehensive approach to it, and having the state involved in the relationship with ISC is critical in that. And I think we'll make progress in that regard.
Yeah, I'm on the Water Resource Board for Mr. Cog. The problem we're having is we can't even get members to show up. Probably we got 16 to 22 agencies or entities. We're lucky if we get 8 to show up at these meetings. Now, they're only quarterly, but still, I mean, there's a good information flow, I think, through Mr. Cog. And, we can get some people showing up to these things. I think, we can also help, maybe steer things through the Mr. Cog apparatus, but
Yeah.
right now, we're just not getting anybody to show up. I mean, we're lucky if we can even get quorum sometimes.
Yeah, it's a difficult matter in terms, I don't think, is the Interstate Stream Commission? They're not part of Mr. Cog.
No, it takes into the Albuquerque area, Mr.
Right,
Cog.
yeah, I'm familiar with the
Yeah,
cog, yeah.
so there is a water resource board
Okay,
and we do have a good leader who understands the water problems, and we've had some very informative presentations.
yeah,
We just can't get anybody to show up and get concerned about it, at least through the Mr. Cog apparatus.
okay. If I might make a suggestion, maybe to your executive director of the cog, to actually formally invite the new state engineer, Elizabeth Anderson, and also the director of the Interstate Stream Commission, Hannah Risley White. Those 2 ladies would gladly come to your water resources, board or committee to discuss the issues that are very critical to the Middle Valley. I'm sure they would attend that if they got an invitation.
All right, thank you for the suggestion.
You're welcome.
Wait, I think that was not a good decision. Let's let them finish their presentation and then we can get into these other questions because they've got a lot of information they probably want to get across to us.
Oh, okay, thank you. One thing I did forget to mention that 2 of the members of our board are not here this evening. One is John Young, who is the chef ambassador and a local farmer. The other is Tessa Davidson, who is a water attorney here in Corrales. I think you probably all know Tessa. So those 2 regret they could not be here. Actually, you'll see Tessa later tonight. She's going to present to you. Moving on to the next item, we would like to have a discussion about ways that we might be able to work together, the co-op and the village. In many cases, grants require that you have partners. We've already talked with Corrales Main Street, and there's a partnership there. As a matter of fact, Angela is going with me to meet with Jeffrey Lopez tomorrow, Ben Ray's representative, so that we can be looking at grant funding from the side of the lead being Corrales Main Street, excuse me, versus the lead being the cooperative and us being partners. So that relationship is established. But I'd be interested to know if the municipality itself would be interested in partnering with us if the opportunity arises, if this is something that we might be able to do together.
Councilor Willman.
Yeah, if I may, I worked with Jeff Lopez. I'm sorry. Thank you. I worked with Jeff Lopez for about a dozen years. So I don't know if the meeting is open or not, but with the consent of the mayor, I would be happy to go to that meeting with you and.
It's okay with Sam.
Absolutely. Tomorrow at 3:00. Be happy to have you there.
Same time. We've got 2 other things at 3:00 tomorrow.
I know. MRGCD's board meeting is at 3:00.
And also on Capital Outlay. But where is it going to be?
It's in Jeff's office downtown.
Downtown.
Yeah, Marquette.
So we can certainly function as a fiscal agent. I heard that mentioned
Great.
before, and that's not a problem.
Good.
It would require some type of a memorandum, but that's not a big deal.
Okay, good. Well, I know one
I'm
of
sure
the,
these guys would all approve it. Yeah.
okay,
Unanimous.
great. No pressure, right? Well, one thing that I had an informal conversation with the mayor about, one of the things that our farmers do need that would really help them out a lot is to have refrigerated storage and dry storage for extra produce. This could really be helpful. Last week, Angela and I went down to the South Valley to see the facility that they have set up with the commercial kitchen and the storage facilities. And it's really quite impressive, but that way extra produce has a place to be brought in and kept until it can be sold out, moved out to the public. And I intend to have a conversation with the individual that runs one of the food networks that can do a pickup of produce locally and then take that out and sell it at other places. So I want to talk to the farmers to see if they're interested in doing that next season. But to make that really work, we're going to need to have some kind of a centralized storage facility. So we need a place where it can go as well as that storage. And what the mayor had mentioned to me is that the administrator was talking with APS about the possibility of portable buildings.
Yeah,
That-
everybody in the world wants a piece of that building now,
Once a piece of what?
the building. In other words, we were getting it initially for storage.
Mhm.
And then we had Focal had expressed some interest, and I believe at one time there was some interest about a commercial kitchen. So there's a lot of people who are interested in this building, which we don't have yet,
Right.
and it has to be moved. And you want to have refrigeration also. So, you know, it's still a fairly good run.
Right. Well, and the thing is, the reason I bring this topic up is that when we apply for grants, we need to know what it is we need to apply for. Is it to retrofit a building or build a building?
It would probably be more
Both.
reasonable
Mhm.
to retrofit a building. Just
Okay.
first run out of the chute. I don't have any numbers.
Okay, and I don't have numbers as to what these things would cost, and I don't have a grant yet.
But
That
the
would
building
allow us
wouldn't
to do
cost
it.
us anything. We just have to move it.
Okay, but the thing is, the grant opportunities come up and they usually give you maybe 30 days
Or less.
or less to write it and apply for it. That's why I wanted to start this conversation as to what it might look like, because I can't really apply for a certain type of grant if we don't know where we'd put it or what we would be.
Now, we've had
Right,
a little
yeah.
bit of experience because the Indigenous Food Hub down here at Trucello's property.
Mhm.
We were their fiscal agent. We helped them get started. And so we do have a little bit of experience in a little different way. But that may help. Tanya was very involved with what they were doing down there, Tanya
Good.
Lawton.
Well, she's going to be one of my next stops
Yeah.
because I know she's got a lot of experience. She can also help me
Yeah,
with.
she'd
how
probably
we
be my
talk
first stop, actually.
For almost anything.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions yet? Yes, Counselor Knight.
So what building were you talking about?
It's a public school building, APS
So it's like a
building.
barracks that we can use or they want to
It's a
get rid of?
Portable building. It's about, what is it, guys, 20 by 60 or something? It's a huge building.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Councilman.
Yeah, I would think for grant wise, I would go for both because even though we might get a portable building, we've been, Kathleen Cates has said that she could get maybe $350,000 for design of a commercial kitchen and storage. How much storage do you need? Is that, that's going to be one of the basic questions.
Right. And that's one of the things that we have to deal with
You know, so,
as a group.
talk to Kathleen too
Mhm.
about this because she had told me that, you know, if we were really interested, she could get $350,000 for design of a new building. Now, that's not to stop you from, or stop the village from getting a portable
Right.
and retrofitting it, but I think we need to think about where we're going to place it and then how we're going to use it.
Right. Well, and there is another discussion ongoing out in the town of Bernalillo
Yes.
with the former Roosevelt schools. They're talking about wanting to put a commercial kitchen out there. As a matter of fact, the mayor and the administrator and Angela and Jim and I were at a meeting with the initial discussions on that. And they're talking about putting in a commercial kitchen and also a commissary kitchen that can be used by the food trucks.
You know, it would be I think it would be, quicker is not the right word, but I think it might be more efficient if we could partner with them. And I actually talked to the young lady who was working on that program and asked her to keep me in the loop and let me know what's going on. Because even though Bernalillo is not right next door, it is sort of right next door.
Right.
And it might not be too far away.
Right. I think one of the issues with that is going to be who's going to run it and maintain it.
Okay.
because most of the municipalities were saying they didn't want to do it.
That's a correct statement.
The
Yep.
county doesn't want to do it. Bernalillo doesn't. So who's going to do that? I don't know. I keep asking the question.
Well, it sounds like she's kind of taking it on. So
Oh, really?
that's what it sounded like to me
Okay.
when we were talking.
Okay.
So we just have to, was she there at the meeting in South Valley?
Oh, Christina? Yeah, she was there. Mhm.
Okay.
And this is one of the places where it's good to have the conversation with Main Street and with the co-op, because this, what we're talking about out in Bernalillo was the impetus to that is state economic development. Those people are talking about it. But when we went down to the South Valley to look at that commercial kitchen and all of that space down there, Angela, what was the waiting list to use the kitchen? Yeah, over 200 people are on the wait list for that commercial kitchen. So when farmers are looking at doing value added products, there really are very few options available to them to create those value added products.
Councilor Murray?
So I guess I got a kind of a basic question. Maybe this is for Damon. Can a 501(c)(3) own property?
No.
So if we want to keep development from happening on a particular parcel that's farming, maybe we ought to be looking at purchasing that property. Is that something that would be your prerogative to raise money for and go after? I mean, we've got bond issues that we can use, but they come up only about every 4 years or so.
So they're gonna, let's one step at a time.
Well, I
And
mean,
so you're still working on your 501(c)(3).
Yes,
You're still trying to organize your farmers.
right.
We, the village, have no problem being fiscal agents and assisting
Okay,
in providing resolutions for support. And we have no problem talking to legislators to see if we can in some way. But it's an arm's length transaction between a 501(c)(3) and a government entity.
right.
We have to be very careful how we do that.
Yes, because of the
Right,
anti-donation clause. It
exactly.
was in the Attorney General's office.
Right. Oh, you even wrote the Open Meeting Act, didn't you?
I didn't write the act. I wrote the guide for the public,
Okay, that's what it was.
for that one and
I
the
knew you'd
inspection
written
of public
something
records.
related to that.
Huh?
I knew you had done something related to that.
Oh, I do all kinds of things. I'm sorry, probably shouldn't do that.
Councilor Woolman?
Yes, Mike, just a quick question. Are you inhibited anyway? Or are you comfortable with the MRGCD substituting for an Inseki Association? And what, is there a legal block? In other words, does legislation have to be introduced in the State House, or how to get around that? Or are you comfortable with the setup?
Councilman, I think
Oh.
with my tenure with the district, we sponsored a number of grants for the Sequia community. And I think they could also serve as a fiscal agent for the cooperative as well. So we have, alternatives there for the district too. And I have spoken with Jason Kasuga about it, and he's even willing to be a co-sponsor on grants, and they can use in-kind. A lot of times, these specific grants will accept in-kind services, like their engineering services. And in particular, for doing some efficiency improvements on the non-MRGCD facilities that, like small ditches and stuff that need a lot of work. They would be available to provide engineering services as an in-kind contribution. So there's a lot of pieces that we can put together here.
Because I know that the New Mexico Inseki Association, particularly in northern New Mexico, is very powerful. It's a very
They are,
important.
yeah, she's one of the better lobbyists I run into, and as state engineer, she was formidable.
Yep.
On some of the stuff that we had before the legislature.
And then I have a question for Sam. In the agricultural district plan, and in your notes from the monthly report we get, you talked about the possibility of an agriculture director for the village to kind of oversee the farming,
Mhm.
perhaps commercial kitchen, perhaps the growers market, that kind of a thing. Could you kind of expand on that a little bit and how you see that happening and the responsibilities there?
I'll try to remember. I actually wrote them down, but I don't have it with me. Part of it would be advocacy and education. I know that I have been told that there have been some problems between code enforcement and farmers, where neighbors don't understand that farming sometimes has odors and things like that. And I think there could be some education that an agriculture director could bring to planning and zoning and to code enforcement, and ultimately to the public about what it is to have farming in your community, because we are certainly a mixed use area. And people need to know about that. So that would be one thing that's just at the very local level. The other thing would be that this person could be an advocate going to meetings, because many of the early MRGCD meetings I was going to, I was the only one there from the village, or Anthony Wagner and I, and maybe Russell would be the only ones there from the village. And having somebody who could actually speak for the village could be very useful at these meetings. And so, and that's a hard thing to put on people that are just part-time, as you elected officials are, and you have other things you have to do. And so having somebody designated would probably be very useful to do things like that. And also they could oversee land that, like the Gonzalez Field, to talk about cover crops. I mean, they could be doing those things here, as well as planning, because you have farmland preservation areas. And I know as a member of that committee, we're trying to do some education there with signage and things like that. And it'd be nice to have someone at the village that was specifically designated about those open lands that we could talk to about them.
Great. Thank
Is
you.
that,
Yep, that's good.
I'm sure there were other things I had on my list that I don't remember right now, and I'm sorry. I passed out to you a resolution that we would appreciate your consideration on. It's basically just to voice your support for agriculture in the village. I think, and I'm going to let the real farmers here speak to whether the farmers would like to know that you support them.
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank Jim Kruger there for writing this resolution. I think we kind of got together on it, and he's got every point on there that we would like to discuss as a cooperative. And it's pretty short, it's pretty brief, but it's a nice resolution, I think.
Anthony Wagner again, good evening, members of the council and the mayor. Yeah, we would ask your support with this resolution. We think this would be good to help agriculture here in the village.
Council, as I mentioned, I do, kind of dabble in agriculture with my small place, and my son's really involved in the farmer's market. And now that I'm got more time on my hands, I'm able to throw a little bit more energy into that endeavor. We think it's really critical that we begin to look at all the aspects of the challenges that are facing, the remaining farms in Corrales. And that I think, any support that you can lend to it. A lot of these are aspirational statements, but there's some specific things in there that are, things we need to really consider. As I mentioned earlier, some kind of conjunctive use with groundwater and surface water makes sense. And I know that working with the district and with the village, maybe there's a way we can convince the state engineer's office to allow for a little bit more proactive management of our groundwater systems in a way that doesn't necessarily jeopardize, people's permits and all that kind of stuff. So that's one item in the resolution that might take a little bit more discussing. And I think we wanted to have another work session specific to those issues with Tessa Davidson, myself, involved in that. Hi, Tessa. And thanks for joining us. Yeah. To work on the water issues and the challenges that we have with the current permitting procedures for individual farmers. And so that's an item on that resolution that will take a little bit more discussion, and we plan to do that in January at a future work session. So thank you.
That was a perfect lead in to the last item on our agenda, which is we would really like to come back to you in January and offer a 2-hour Water Rights 101 session. As you can tell, we have some people on this board that know water rights. And Tessa Davidson has just joined us, and she definitely can talk about individual water rights, as can Mike, as you can tell. So we would appreciate it if you could make time for us in January, so we could bring this forward, and we'd like, to have it recorded and allow the public to hear it, because water rights is an extremely complicated area. And people in this village really need to understand their rights where water is concerned, if that's agreeable to you.
Sam, one question. Is there any cooperation or coordination between this group and the growers market here in the village?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Russell and
Okay. No, I just want to be sure, because you guys,
John
the
Young.
growers market has
Right.
been here forever. Well, almost forever.
We've been an entity since 2013.
Oh, well, I was thinking before that.
In the market since my understanding, Russell, correct me if I'm wrong, 1986.
That's probably right. Yeah.
1986.
I didn't get into it until 98, I think it was, but it's been around a long time.
Right, and we became members of the,
Bonnie, we won't be able to hear you on
Yeah.
the recording. Can you come up to the microphone?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to be sure you guys were all working, because I think the numbers deal is better. It helps when you have lots of.
I'm Bonnie Gonzalez. I live on Old Church Road. Thank you all for having us. Russell may know more about this than I do, but the Farmers Market Association, the State Farmers Market Association was organized in 1994. And Russell got us kind of in that from the ground floor. So we have always operated under NMFMA, the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association, and have built that relationship since 1994. I began doing the market in 96, and we moved to the rec center and developed our formal entity that Al and I built in the 2000s. And that was through a specialty crops grant written by our farm through the marketing research department of the Department of Agriculture here in Corrales. And this is one thing, I hear you all talking about grants, but this is one thing I'm very excited about. I can send this grant information out to all of my contacts, all of my growers at the growers market, but they need help doing these. And I had a lot of help. Russell connected me with the Department of Agriculture, and I had a lot of help making that grant happen. And it was a 3-year grant, and it is how we built the growers market, but it was a grant through my farm. And many of the small farms that are become a part of this coalition can use that support of this coalition to help them develop their own projects. We're talking about commissary kitchens. We currently have 2 being built in the village on private property. We also have a very large facility, hand-to-mouth foods. And getting these grants into the hands of the farmers is going to make a big difference. And I use the growers market as one example of that, because without these small specialty crop grants, which farmers apply for, our growers market would never have happened. That's how it came into be. So I very much applaud this coalition and am in support of it, and will do everything I can. I've provided a lot of contact information. We've been sharing information and I very much support it.
Great.
So is that helpful, Jim?
Oh, yes, very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have 5 minutes
Yes.
left.
Okay,
Councilman
ju-
Brady?
just a quick question, but this brings up a good point is we're loading up Tanya to the point of where I think she's going to be overloaded with her work and any grants that we give her. We need an official grant writer within the village that can go out and search all this. Tanya can only do so much because she's got another job. I think it's just worth our time. Maybe we ought to consider hiring somebody to do this.
Okay. Anyone? Yes, sir, Councilwoman.
Mayor, Mike, sorry, but this is probably an unfair question.
How much time do we have, Melanie?
4 minutes.
Okay, you got 4 minutes.
Tomorrow, I understand that we got from Councilor Miera the agenda for MRGCD for tomorrow for discussion of the siphon and the Pueblo Sandia. So 2 questions. One, do you have any insight, any preview of what they might discuss tomorrow? And number 2, when you did the presentation at the library, you talked extensively about El Vado Dam and any update on that?
I really am not in a position, Mr. Mayor and Council, to share anything more than what's already, been shared in the past. I don't have any, direct connection to the MRGCD at this point, just no more than you do. But I do know that they've issued a new, contract for design and work up at El Vado. They have they put their dam safety team together again to redevelop that structure. It's gonna take 3 to 5 years before that's rebuilt. But the good news is the work that was done previously with Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority as a San Juan Chama contractor, and with MRGCD and the state of New Mexico to push Congress to tell the Corps of Engineers that yes, you do have the authority to store native water in Abiquiu. So in the interim, water storage in Abiquiu is going to help quite a bit. But the other piece, though, that we all have to worry about is the current debit to the Rio Grande Compact. That restricts even El Vado, even if it was there, it would still be restricted because of the rules of the compact and the fact that there's 125,000 acre foot of debit to that. So, in a way, it's good that they're building it now while we're in this debit problem. So when we pull out of it, ultimately, then we'll be able to use El Vado when it's ready to go.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? One last question. Do you have anything you want to finish up with? Any kind of summary? I mean, I think I speak for the council and say we're all on board in trying to make this work.
Well, all I can say then is thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. We look forward to coming back and talking with you in January, if that's agreeable. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the work study is adjourned. You can stop the tape.